Diana Pasulka talked about, her and Gary Nolan talked about how they refer to some of these things as donations.
Mm-hmm.
They don't think of them as crashed vehicles because some of them are not crashed. They're completely intact. And
I think David Grush said that too, didn't he?
yeah, I believe he did.
Yeah.
And even, Lazar, when he was talking about it. So there's a plate, there's this thing that looks like a half a basketball, and when it's on, you can't come anywhere near it. You can't touch it.
Right.
What is gravity about that? Like the concept of gravity to most people is gravity is bringing something towards it.
Right. Well, I guess you would say it's anti-gravity. Mm-hmm. It's gravity shifted 180 degrees. It's, anti-gravity.
And did they have any understanding about what could possibly create this effect? Did they have any areas where they'd like you to look into?
No, they knew there was a fuel source in it, and they were proficient at making it work. And again, my analogy to something like this is you can drop a motorcycle off in the wagon train days and just leave it with the keys parked outside, somebody's place. Everybody will come around it and they'll poke and prod, and eventually they'll turn the key, get it to start, and become proficient at riding it.
Yeah.
But they won't be able to understand what the hell's going on. They won't be able to make the plastic fender, much less anything else. And I think that's exactly the state we were at. We played around with the parts long enough before I got there where they could make the reactor operate, take the fuel out, and know that it makes it work. How exactly what was going on in the reactor remained a mystery at the time. I think we made some progress on what was going on inside, but I don't think anybody really knew anything. They could just watch what was going on and make note of it.
How long were you there?
I'd say about 6 months or so.
And what progress was made while you were there?
Well, we came up with a bunch of reasonably good ideas about how the reactor worked. And one of them was the square base of it was essentially like a cyclotron, which is a small particle accelerator, a circular one. Particle accelerators, linear particle accelerators, are just a, long tube essentially, and they accelerate particles with high voltage and radio frequencies till they reach high speeds. But a cyclotron does that in a small circular area. And there's this very heavy element fuel, element 115, something that wasn't on our periodic charts at the time.
But it is now.
It is now, yeah.
When did it become on the periodic table now, the way the charts now?
I don't remember. Do you remember when they...
2004, Darmstadt, Germany, I think, is where they first fabricated 4 atoms. They lasted 220 milliseconds with the atoms. It's nothing, right? And then it later was discovered a couple more times they could fabricate it. Then they gave it a place then on the periodic chart after that, called it Moscovium.
So they told you about this stuff in 1982?
Yeah, well,
No,
we
not
kind of...
1982.
What year was this?
It was 88 and 89 when I was there.
Oh, okay.
82 is when
82 was when you were
at
at Los Alamos. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So 88, 89, they told you about this stuff. So this was not like...
No, they didn't tell me about it. That's one of the things that this group came up with. The God, I keep losing my train of thought with this thing.
So this one area, this element 115 was the fuel.
Yeah, it was the fuel.
The world will forgive you for having a migraine. Can I just?
It's really
say
hard to think through this. Just give me a minute.
We'll just give you more
I just
booze.
want to say one. Yeah, definitely. I was going to say one thing. But for the last 30 years, people have just been on the attack on Bob. Getting to know him, the personal effects on his life. It's really hard to understand unless you meet his family and his wife. I mean, this is the last thing he wanted to fucking do, was have to talk.
Yeah, we should explain that, Jeremy, that you and I had this conversation. I watched your documentary. We had this conversation, and I said, I have to talk to him.
Yeah.
The document, there's been detractors. There's been a bunch of people that called bullshit on many of the things that you've said, but over time, many of the things that you talked about, even in the 80s, have proven to be true. Things that people said were not true were proven to be true. Element 115 was one of them. Right?
Right. Element 115, the fuel they had, was stable. In other words, it didn't decay. It wasn't emitting radioactivity. When they synthesized 2 or 3 atoms of the 115, it did decay, and it was not a stable element. So they're kind of two different things. But this is kind of typical. Elements always have, or pretty much always have, stable isotopes and unstable isotopes. Like I think cesium has like 30 unstable isotopes to it. So, hydrogen, for example, you're familiar with hydrogen gas. It's stable. It's not radioactive. But there's also 2 other types of hydrogen, deuterium and tritium. And deuterium isn't radioactive. It's another stable isotope of hydrogen. But tritium is radioactive. Now, they're all hydrogen, but they just have different amounts of neutrons. So it's the same thing with other elements and element 115. Depending on the amount of neutrons it has, designates the isotope, but it's 115. They will continue to take or experiment and try and make 115 at different isotopes, and I'm sure eventually they'll come up with a stable version, but it's the stable version that has the properties that we're talking about.
So they somehow or another had acquired a stable version. Did they say that the stable version had come with this craft?
Yeah, it absolutely came with the craft, yeah.
So at the time, you having a firm knowledge of the periodic chart and knowing what was real and what wasn't real, what was your reaction to having this stable element 115 that wasn't even supposed to exist?
Well, everything was impossible.
Right.
I mean, down to the metal. I did get a chance to look inside the craft on only one occasion, and this was important because where the reactor sat might have been critical to how it operated, since everything operates without any interconnection, so the placement of components might be critical. So they allowed me to go inside and look at it. Again, I forgot where the hell I am.
So you're going into this craft, and what are you thinking when you're inside of it? Like, what are you seeing?
It's a very ominous feeling because there are no, first of all, everything is one color. It's like a dark pewter color, and there are no right angles anywhere. It's as if somebody took, I've said this before, somebody took a model and fashioned it out of wax and then heated it just for a short time so everything melted. Everything looks like it's fused together. Everything has a radius of curvature where 2 items meet. It's a really weird looking thing. But there was almost nothing other than a small foldable hatchway that looked recognizable. Everything was really unworldly, to pick on it, a way to describe it.
So you get inside this thing, and it's designed for something that's much smaller than a human being.
Yeah, you can't really stand up till you get to the very center of it.
And how tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
And what do you think this was designed for?
I'd say something close to half my height.
Wow. So these little 3-foot tallish creatures.
Yeah, and the seats were small too. I mean, obviously it was made, for something small. But there is no, there's nothing else in there. There's just seats, the reactor, and some of the subcomponents. There's no control panels. There's no bathroom. There's no decorative components or artwork or anything that you would recognize or trim. I mean, it's just a very bare bones thing.
You're not seeing any screens?
Well, there are archways around it that are part of the superstructure, and one of the archways can become transparent. When I was in there was another group working on one of the archways, and you could call that a screen, more or less.
So through that archway, it would maintain the solidity, the solid, whatever metal it was.
Yeah.
But you could see through it?
Yeah, it just became transparent. Yeah. I saw that happen once or twice before I left.
Did you ask any questions about what the fuck that
No,
was?
there's no asking questions.
There's no asking questions.
No.
But when you watch something become transparent and you realize it's still there, but you can now see through it.
Yeah, I mean, now that's not that impressive. We do have some liquid crystal materials that are like that. They
I've seen that in bathrooms.
Smart glass. Yeah, they call it smart glass. So this is just, and I don't know if the craft is made of an advanced metal or a ceramic. It was cold to the touch, so I would lean more towards a metal.
You're not allowed to ask questions.
No, they work on the buddy system, so I can only exchange ideas and talk to Barry. Now this really interferes with science because science is based on free discussion. And ideally, you get a bunch of guys together, exchange ideas, work on problems, and that's how things move forward. But they're so over-the-top concerned about security, they split everything off, and everybody becomes stagnant. It just destroys any of the progress you can make, or at least makes it go so slow. I think they wind up shooting themselves in the foot.
Which is probably why they arrived at this bottleneck that they need to get this madman with a jet-powered Honda to come in and see what he could do.
I think that was an act of desperation. I think they wanted someone that thinks out of the box and let's just give this guy a try here because they weren't, and they might have done this 4 more times since up to the point in time today, assuming they're still working on this thing.
And when you see this craft and you're inside, was there any indication that there was an area that they would use to control it, to pilot it? Was there a pilot seat? There were 3 seats. They sat around. The reactor was in the dead center of it, and then equidistant around there were 3 seats. That's all. There was a large. They're not consoles. They're large rectangular objects, also spaced equidistant around the center. There's nothing on them. There's no buttons. There's no lights. There's no controls. Look the same color, the same
Everything
thing.
is the same
it's
color.
It's just a different shape.
Right. And directly underneath them, there's 3 levels in the craft. The main level is what we're talking about. Directly under that, those are the gravity amplifiers, the big rectangular objects. Underneath them are the gravity emitters that look like, for lack of a better word, a trash can hanging on a pipe. 3 of those. And then the top layer, this is just my personal belief, I think that has to do with a navigation or their version of a computer with some planar panels, sensor panels around the craft that we would call portholes, but they're not portholes, they're just black areas. And I think that just determines its position in space. But I physically was in the center section, and I stuck my torso in the bottom section and hung upside down so I could see how the gravity amplifiers were positioned.
What is the roughly the size of this thing?
I don't remember from being there, but after all this stuff was over, I had John Andrews, a guy from the Testers Model Corporation, and we sat down and tried to figure out from what I saw and known sizes of things, and we came up with 52 feet in diameter. And
so
I think that's
fairly small.
Yeah, so I think that's a reasonable guess.
Now, you said there's 9 of them, and you got a brief glimpse at the other ones. Mm-hmm. How were they different?
Oh, they looked completely different. One looked like I called a Jell-O mold, and it looked like a classic Jell-O mold with the rippled sides to it. One was a very flat disc, like a straw hat or something like that. That was sitting up on its edge, and the thin part of it looked like a projectile had been fired through the edge of it. So I don't know if they were attempting to see if the metal could be penetrated, or if that's where the thing came from. Maybe it was shot down. But that was the only one where I saw there was, actual physical damage to it.
And that one was roughly the same size? They're all...
They were kind of too far away to tell.
And there was several teams that were working on the propulsion system, so there was different teams that were working on these different aircrafts?
I don't know. I could only assume.
Right. Now, when you're sitting in this thing and you're looking at this otherworldly craft, your goal is to try to figure out how this thing functions. Your goal is to try to figure out how this reactor... but you would imagine they would give you more time than just one day to check that out.
Oh, it wasn't one day.
Right.
Yeah, Barry was there. I think Barry was sleeping there. I'm sure they had... Now, that isn't weird. Up at the Tonopah test range where they work on stealth fighters, you go, I think, 3 weeks on, 1 week off, and you stay up there too. So it's not weird to stay up at the test site.
Right.
So, yeah, I think he pretty much, and he acted like he's been up there for a long time.
Yeah.
But
Maybe he's still there.
yeah, who knows?
Do you have contact with this guy?
No. Oh, no. I wish I did. I kind of thought he was going to come out after I did.
Right.
And I think I took so much flack and it's so much shit for what went on. I think I wound up helping security there, and everybody became afraid of, doing or saying anything after that.
So what kind of reports did you have to give? Like, so you're not making much progress, right? You're just trying to figure out what this thing is, and it seems impossible. So,
well, we didn't personally make them. I mean, we were always, there was never a lot of information that we gained. The guy, you would call him our supervisor, his name was Dennis Mariani, and kind of a military-looking guy. And he would routinely pop in, during the day and, hey, what's going on, guys? And he would essentially relay any information, anything new we came up with. I mean, he was our go-between, where we presented him the information, then he took it to wherever they were, assembling all the data from everybody.
Now, I assume you're working normal days, like an 8-hour day?
No.
No?
No, it was really weird that I would be only called in on certain times and certain days. And they would be weird hours, too. Most of the time was later in the evening. I mean, I can get a call at 11 o'clock at night, and they'll say, it's now 11 o'clock. By 11:45, you need to be at the McCarran terminal, and, we'll let you know when we have more information.
But what did you do while you were there? If you're looking at this object, this reactor, and you can't figure out what it is or how it works, other than the fact that it works on this element that we don't even know about.
Sure. I mean, the thing was what you do with anything. If you're trying to analyze it, all you can do is perform tests. And all we did is try and come up with every kind of test we possibly could. I mean, we tested, it violated a lot of what we thought was impossible to violate. I mean, one of the first laws of thermodynamics, essentially any machine, any device that operates always makes extra heat. Nothing works at 100% efficient. Even the headphones you're wearing, anything that takes power, some of that power is going to be converted to heat, and it's just wasted. This didn't. I mean, we looked at, back then we had infrared cameras. They're different today, but back then you had to pour liquid nitrogen into the camera to cool the sensor down and get these infrared images you've seen. But it never got, no matter what the load was on the reactor, it never got above the ambient temperature, which is impossible. I mean, you're, pulling out huge amounts of power and nothing ever gets warm. We tried measuring magnetic fields and there was nothing there. So we started playing around with the emission from the emitters, the gravity wave itself, and saw what we could do with it and how it was focused. So we really spent all our time just trying to see what the stuff can do and what we can control.
So you were seeing what it could do, but you couldn't ever figure out how it was doing it.
No, not really. I mean, we really could only use come up with a best guess. And now I can't say we really that I could absolutely state for certainty how anything actually worked.
It's a really crazy story. So he used to work at Los Alamos. He was a propulsions expert. Guy put a jet engine on the back of a Honda. He was a real freak.
Yeah.
He made a hydrogen Corvette in like the 1990s. He was a nutty dude.
Clearly an engineer.
Yes.
That part checks out.
So he gets this job on Area S4 and goes there. And it's all documented in Jeremy Corbell's excellent movie, Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers. So he goes there and sees this thing, and it's got a American flag sticker on it. And, they basically say, tell us how it works. And he's like, oh, this is ours, because he sees it has a sticker on it. And then he realizes this is made out of some completely unknown alloy. There's no seams in it. It seems to be 3D printed. There's no controls inside of it. It's designed for something that's 3 feet tall. It's all very fucking weird. so he's working on this thing, not making much headway at all. They understood that there was an element 115, that was not even on the periodic table. Eventually found to actually be a thing by the Large Hadron Collider. But even then, they only measured it for a millisecond, right? So then he's saying that they have this stable version of this element, and you bombard it with radiation, and it creates this sort of gravity drive. He's working on this thing, and it's all top secret, so he cannot tell his wife. So they're calling him up at 10 o'clock, like, hey, get to the airport. We need you. And so he would have to fly out at random times, fly out to S4, and his wife was like, this motherfucker's having an affair. Well, I'm going to have an affair too. So she starts fucking her flight attendant, or a flight instructor. I think that's what it was. When you have that kind of clearance, they are monitoring everything.
I remember as a kid, I've obviously been into this for a long time. I remember as a kid seeing videos of people going out, and then they eventually closed it down. You couldn't get to that spot, but there was like a
that was during the Obama administration. During the Obama administration, they actually had to admit that Area 51 was real, because before that, no one even knew it was real. I mean, that was always just a joke, like Area 51 was like for fun. But then they said, no, it is real, and we need to expand the forbidden boundary.
Yeah. And isn't that when people were gonna like bum rush it too? Is that when that happened?
That was during COVID.
Oh, okay.
During COVID, there was a bunch of dorks that were like, we're gonna crash Area 51. That's a good way to die,
Exactly.
kids. They'll fucking kill you.
A natural selection.
Yeah,
man.
they're working on a lot of stuff out there, and some of it is weapons.
Right.
They can't have you internet dorks from Reddit just running out into Area 51.
Yeah, I think they eventually realized that, because I don't think they went out there, but it could have been bad.
I think it was all bullshit. They weren't gonna. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna get out there? Yeah.
Engagement farming. Yeah, man, there's a lot of crazy shit that's been going on. It's been going on for a while. Jamie and I were talking beforehand about the stovepiping too, and all the
stovepiping.
The different ways that they compartmentalize what they're doing, and they talked about it in Age of Disclosure too. That's a big problem, because certain people are working on these parts of the craft to reverse engineer them, to understand them, but they don't have the whole picture.
Lazar was talking about that from the 1980s.
Yeah.
In 1989, he said the people that are working on metallurgy were not in contact with the people that are working on propulsion, and you weren't. He's like, science cannot operate like that.
Yeah. No, it can't, because you need to know what's going on beyond just this little part that you're working on.
If that's real, if Roswell was real, if all the crash was real, Philip Drake Corso is correct, and all these people are telling the truth. Betty and Barney Hill, I believe, was in the 1950s. They're an interracial couple in New England, so they have a lot of anxiety just on that.
Yeah.
Imagine being a pioneering interracial couple in the 1950s. The fucking racism they must have experienced so the level of anxiety that they must have slept with, thinking the KKK is going to show up at any point in time and burn a fucking cross on their lawn. So you've got all that too. Then there's a completely novel experience. Wow, the government is actually really good at one thing. They're good at keeping secrets about UFOs.
That's right.
But if they're not, if it's all bullshit, like, boy, how weird that we've been like focusing on this nonsense, like as a culture. It got in the front page of the New York Times in 2017, but meanwhile it's all nonsense.
Right.
That's almost less likely.
Well, if you look at what Doty did in the 70s and 80s with Paul Benowitz, when Benowitz discovered this advanced technology on Kirtland Air Force Base, he called the base and said, hey, I think there's UFOs. So they send Doty out. He was Air Force Intelligence, OSI. They send him out to Benowitz, and he's like, Paul, I think it might be UFOs. It is aliens. And Paul gets a little bit wacky, and he starts intercepting signals from outer space, and they're sending him messages, but it turned out it's really the NSA rented a house across the street, and Paul is committed at some point. And then Doty, over the years, changes his story and says, no, a lot of it is actually true. But Doty has also, he said as recently as 2019, Hal Puthoff tried to recruit him for a disinformation campaign with ATIP.
Really? So Hal Puthoff has been a part of disinformation campaigns?
Allegedly forever.
And what have they been doing with these disinformation campaigns? What have they been trying to muddle?
Just to keep guys like you and me fascinated and trying to figure stuff out while they can just operate their advanced technology in peace. Like, let them think it's aliens and UFOs. That's fine.
What a dirty thing to do to
filthy.
us.
In the 50s, they were very public about anti-gravity. It was in the papers.
Yeah.
The G engine, they were talking about it. And then suddenly, whoosh, quiet.
Yeah, Jesse Michaels talks about that all the time. The Townsend Brown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Townsend and Ning Lee, remember her story, the physicist who disappeared?
Right, and then she died in a car accident after she came back from China.
Oops.
Whoopsies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was AC gravity. If you guys want to look that up, she used to give talks and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
She was funded by DOD for $400,000, so we know that for sure. And then she just goes dark. She goes dark for 11 years. Shows up, I think, in 2013. She's back. 2014, she gets hit by a car.
Why is it so fun?
I don't know. Mark McClan just found all that stuff, ended up killing himself
All
later
this
on.
stuff is so fun, which is why the Y files are so good. Because it's like, I always get the same feeling when I watch your show. It's like, oh, what is the answer? What is real? What is it? But what is it about us that's so intrigued by these mysteries? I mean, there's so much that we know that is real. Just the nature of the cosmos itself, of black holes and solar nurseries and all the wild shit that's absolutely real. But there's these things that are like, yeah, but what is that?
I don't think enough people are interested in it, to be honest. I think that's part of the problem.
Well, don't you think it's because for the most part it's dismissed, and if you engage in it, it's like if you're a normal person, not like you or I, but if you're a person that has like a job in an accounting firm, you're like a very respected, legitimate person, especially like pre-2017, pre the New York Times article, and you want to start talking about like gravity propulsion systems that the government's been hiding, and that there's back engineering programs, they've got crashed UFOs, and there's one of them, it's only like a couple hundred feet wide, but you go inside of it, it's the size of a football field. Like,
Right, like
what?
the TARDIS.
Yeah. Or the one in Korea that's so big they had to build a building around it because they couldn't move it.
Right.
I want to know what that is.
Same. I wish more people were interested in it.
I would almost be willing to run for president just to get access. Just if I ran for president, the company would be in shambles, but everybody would know everything about UFOs.
Dude, you have no shot.
I have no shot. They would kill me for sure.
I can't believe the things you say are news.
Oh yeah, well, it's because news is like really dead.
Yes, that's
News is
true.
slow.
They're angry about independent media.
Well, they are, but it's also the news is not. So their business is just clicks. And what better way to get clicks than I said something crazy? And so then, and then it also kind of supports the idea that we need to be gatekeeped and someone needs to, be able to stop us from spreading misinformation, or my favorite term, malinformation. This is something
I don't know
that
that.
came up during COVID, that we need to stop the spread of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Malinformation is real information that is true and accurate, but would be negative in its impact to society. It's
bonkers.
Crazy.
We can't live in that society.
Well, they're making us infants, right? They're saying we can handle this, but the vast majority of you, even though we're all supposed to be equal and the government's supposed to be working for you and serving the people, no, we will have this information and we will know what we're doing, and you won't be able to have access to it because you're not ready for it because you're too stupid.
They lost. They lost already. They just don't know it yet, but they lost.
Yeah, they lost a long time ago.
I'm gonna put out an episode about how dragons are real, and when I get to the debunk, I'm gonna say nothing. They're real. Peace out.
Triangular spacecraft. What is this?
Stumbled down a little rabbit hole and found a patent that exists or did exist. It was abandoned in 2006.
This could be I forget the
Look at
title.
this.
The SR was it 7RB?
There's a T3B.
So this is like the
3B.
ones that they always see, like the Phoenix lights and that one. So it says a spacecraft having a triangular hull with vertical electrostatic line charges on each corner that produce a horizontal electric field parallel to the sides of the hull. This field interacting with a plane wave emitted by antennas on the side of the hull generates a force per volume combining both lift and propulsion. What?
Wow. Gives all the math, but I don't know how
What?
to do this math. And if someone,
we need to get Eric here.
Someone can look at it and be like, "That's not real."
Get Eric Weinstein to do that math.
It hasn't
for us.
been made, obviously, or that we
Or
know
it
of.
has,
That's
Jamie.
that's
And
what
I'm
I'll say.
surprised it's not classified.
There's other, according to this article, that's where I found it. There's what it was about the T3B thing.
Right. So that's a real experimental aircraft.
Does America have a reverse engineered UFO? Whoa.
So
But
this goes back to 1991 with the Desert Storm. There's reports of what they called a TR-3A, which looks a lot like what the stealth bomber kind of is,
Yeah.
but also
Whoa.
Yep.
no confirmed.
TR-3B is said to be like nothing we've seen before.
This was what I got to from Liquid Mercury. I was trying to find stuff about it, and there's theories that people say that like this is probably what they're running off of.
It's supposedly
Could
powered
be.
by a reverse-engineered anti-gravity drive that was recovered from a crashed alien spacecraft. The TR-3B is where reports of UAP performing seemingly impossible aerial maneuvers intersect with stories about very real aircraft.
Read the next paragraph.
There are lots of claims over the internet about TR-3B's anti-gravity drive, most of which include using nuclear power to rotate highly pressurized mercury to produce plasma and in turn a gravitational field. Whoa.
Something about the mercury.
Have you ever heard Eric Weinstein talk about this? There's a college in upstate New York that has an incredibly overqualified physics department, and they're attached to a hedge fund that does Bernie Madoff type numbers.
Yes.
And he thinks the whole thing is a cover for some sort of advanced physics that they have been keeping a lockdown on.
And it would make total sense. I mean, SRI would be another good example of that, right? Where Hal was in the 70s, with Project Stargate and all of that, and Stanford.
Yeah. The idea that the government can't keep secrets, like, what about Epstein? What? Come on.
People ask me all the
That's
time.
in front of everybody's face, and they've kept the list a secret.
We're never going to see the list. Stop asking me. You're not going to see the list. Why not? Because all your heroes are on it, and they're on it a lot. It's never coming out.
Yeah, and I have a friend that thinks like a lot of the world events that you're seeing, one of the reasons why people support it is because of Epstein, because of the list, because people are compromised, because no one can talk about things, which is like really wild. So the government can keep some secrets.
Manhattan Project was
yes.
secret.
They did a great job with that, and that was one that, it was a race between us and the other foreign powers. They were all trying to come up with a nuclear bomb first. We did it first. The idea that there's no way that we could have some sort of advanced propulsion system and that modern physicists would be aware of the state of the art and they would tell you, yeah, no, this is not possible.
I kind of have that needle of skepticism, and it starts with: do you have a background in intelligence? Yes.
Right.
Military intelligence,
Yeah.
Air Force intelligence.
Yeah.
Are you still on the payroll?
Right.
Did you get your information cleared from the Pentagon?
Yeah.
Do you have a book?
Yeah.
And it all goes. Did you release some photos that were fake? I'm over here. Then you go Bob Lazar. He has none of that stuff. Did the government target you? Did they try to discredit you?
Yeah.
Have you been ostracized? When Lazar came out, I think it was to George Knapp. He didn't say his name.
Right.
He didn't have any books. The first book I think was with him and Jeremy in 2019.
Right.
So Lazar to me is the most credible of the whistleblowers.
Right.
But Jeremy and George just had a whistleblower a couple of weeks ago who's pretty credible. He's a young guy. He's clearly nervous, and he has some very interesting information about what is it, Immaculate Constellation.
Which guy is this?
I don't remember his name. It's very new.
Is that the bald guy?
No.
No.
The ball guy I think is Air Force intelligence, still on payroll. This is a kid whose career is ruined, and he's maybe in his 20s, and you can see he's clearly nervous.
And what is his claim?
His claim is that he was going through some files. He's got top secret clearance, and he found the Immaculate Constellation project, basically a PowerPoint presentation. And his job was just to sort these files. And he's looking through it, and suddenly it's like, whoa, this is about recovery and alien craft. And he did the right thing and went to his superiors and said, there's a leakage. I saw information I maybe wasn't supposed to. I'm just letting you know. And his superiors were like, forget about it. And he's like, and that was it. It's just no reprimand, no nothing. I just went back to work. But he was too fascinated by the document, so he kept pursuing it. And now he talks about it. I don't know his name, but if you track down, Jeremy and George, you'll find it easily. That's the kid.
Yeah. So here's a way that I would kind of try to debunk that if I was being logical. If I was the government and I did have some very sophisticated propulsion system that's beyond the understanding of what we think to be current state-of-the-art physics, like far beyond that. I think I might release a bunch of horse shit about UFOs.
100%.
Yeah, I might put a bunch of that stuff out there to say, oh, it can't be ours. It's not ours. It's not of this world.
Muddy the waters.
Yeah, not just that, but attach like really kooky stuff to stuff that's real, so that you think the real stuff is kooky.
Right, like the drone scare. Remember that? That was very manufactured, and the press was all over it. We don't know where the drones are. They're all flying over the military bases, all of that stuff.
What do you think that was?
I know what it was. I've seen the NOTAM reports. You know what a NOTAM is?
No.
That's a notice to airmen. So pilots, private pilots, get warning of no-fly zones. And usually you'll see a lot of swaths carved out if like Air Force One's flying through. But for some reason, these NOTAM reports have all these little circles all around that you can't fly through where the drones were. And I've seen that. And when did the drones, they suddenly stopped? When?
Right.
Right before Inauguration Day.
Yeah.
And no one talks about the drones anymore.
Yeah, it's gone.
Gone.
I mean, it was mainstream news all over the place.
And they had people nervous.
Yeah.
They had them nervous, and I think that was the point.
So you think they did it as a psyop just
Yes.
to see how people would react?
I do. And remember, I know nothing.
Right.
But that is my opinion, is that it was a psyop. And that most of this is.
If there are visitors and they are from somewhere else, wouldn't the best way to prepare us is to start flying a bunch of like really wacky shit that we have in the air and not explain it?
That would be a good way to prepare us.
Get us comfortable with seeing things hovering over New Jersey that defy what our understanding of drone capabilities are in terms of the time that they can stay in the air. Some of them were in the air like for 5 hours. That's the other thing that Bob said that I thought was really fascinating, was that there was some documentation that they were showing him that claimed that we are the product of accelerated evolution.
He was shown a lot of shit, and he doesn't like talking about it because he doesn't know if it's just total fucking nonsense.
Right.
You know, he is sure that they showed him shit just to see if he'd fucking say crazy shit.
Right, see if he'd talk.
All he cares about is what he saw, what he knows is real. But if you do just talk with him privately, they did show him, you know, a photograph of an autopsy of a being with a singular organ. They told him that, yeah, the human genome had been altered, you know, just all sorts of crazy shit. And he just has no idea if it's true or if it's...
God, the whole thing is so wild. I just wish, you know, if Bob's lying, my God, what a great liar.
Yeah.
He's amazing at it.
Right.
And he's been telling the same lie for 30 plus years. And then there's elements of it that, how would he know that? Like, how would he know about element 115? I mean, element 115, when he was talking about it, was theoretical.
Yeah, he got lucky. He's the luckiest guy enough. He always chooses shit that ends up being fucking right.
I know.
You know,
That's
gravity,
funny.
waves, and like, you know, how these craft like, look, man.
Explain the element 115 to people, because people who don't know what we're talking about, that haven't seen the documentary or haven't seen the podcast we did together.
So the way Bob understood it was that he was working on power and propulsion, right? So of one of these, we call them flying saucers, you know, fucking alien vehicle.
That looked like this one.
Exactly.
Right here from Design by Perry.
Yeah. And one day we might catch up.
And this element 115 that Bob talked about powering this spaceship was only theoretical back in the late 1980s when he first started discussing it.
Right. We hadn't synthesized it yet.
Right. Well, it wasn't synthesizing. It was created by a particle accelerator, right?
Exactly.
It was detected, because it was. I think it was.
But we
like
smashed.
Right.
So we kind of synthesized in that we smashed particles together, and then we're like, oh, for like a second, there it was.
Yeah, I think it's a fraction of a second.
Yeah, and Bob always said that if he's right, if it was 115, that's how he understood it to be. If he's right, then we will someday, you know, be able to make a nominal amount of it that will be stable.
Yeah, the whole thing is just so interesting, man. It never ends.
Yeah, it never ends. It is interesting. I just like...
Until something actually happens, and my thought is like, when something actually happens, how will people handle it? UFO whistleblower could get immunity under new amendment. So this is what you were talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Proposed
absolutely.
for the
And I mean, the thing is I know some of the people doing this, and they're like, you know, they want some
accelerator. And Bob Lazar's claim was that they had a stable amount of this element 115 that had come from this other place. And did they know where this other place was, where this element 115 supposedly had come from? Another planet?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is like what he was told, so he's kind of allergic to, but, you know, he said that the documents said Zeta Reticuli, like, you know, I guess a binary star system or something. That's what were in the documents. Now, if that's true or not, look, remember, he thought it was the U.S. He thought this vehicle was ours.
Right.
And then he until he walked inside of it. That's his whole thing. It blew him away.